Hi, Eva here. We're going to paint daffodils.
So here I'm going to show you a little bit of a different way of doing the background on the tulips that we're painting. We put a very light little background in and ran it into the flowers. Here I'm going to try and avoid the two flower heads, and I put a little bit of masking around it. You didn't have to do that, because you could just leave it, put water on everywhere else, and then leave the flower heads dry, and that will also keep the paint out of them. And I'm going to put a wet into wet application on here. And so I'm just going to water down the background. And now it's easy because I masked it, so I don't even have to be all that careful. So see here. And I'm just doing it at a little, this is actually a 4x6, so it's tiny. That's, I use some of my little scrap pieces of paper for little paintings like this, even smaller. I do some miniatures that I frame in these little tiny miniature frames, and they're 3.5 by 2.5, so they're really small, but they're a lot of fun. And I do have that up on YouTube too, if you want to see. People always think that's so tedious painting miniatures, but it's actually not. It's super fun and fast. So here, I think I got water on everywhere. If I didn't, when I put the colors on, it'll let me know. Because it's going to run around the dry spots. And I might just give the back a little bit of a spray, or keep it moist longer too, and let it relax. Relax, relax. Put a little bit more on there. All right, so I can start with the French Ultramarine blue. Put a little bit of the Cobalt in. I just want to get some color on. And now this time I want a little bit more color on, because that's going to set off these white petals. I'm going to paint the kind of daffodils that have white petals, and then they have that orangey center, yellow orangey center. Put a little bit more water in here, and put some in, and I'm going to paint over my leaves and the stems. Put some more in here. Make that flow together. Can't really see what I have going on. And so I don't exactly want to paint around this little Badetsky, but I have a special plan for it. So right now I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of a wide berth. And we can put some more of the darker down here. And just, if you have the masking fluid, you've got to pay a little attention to how you put it on, because, once you take it off, you're stuck with the hard edges that it creates, right? So don't want to be too sloppy when you do that. And hopefully I wasn't. We'll see. Time will tell. So now I'm just going to go in, and first of all, I'm going to grab some yellow, and I'm going to put that on right there, because, I want that to be green and yellow, so I might as well do some of that. And then I'm going to go in and do a little bit of the yellow here. I can do a little bit more of, now I put in a little bit of the Antwerp blue, because down here it's going to be a lot of, the leaves, they're going to be mainly green. And go down there, and hopefully it's not drying on me quite yet. And I would like to have a little bit of lavender up here, just because I feel like it. And it's my painting, so I can do what I want, right? That's what I think. So you can see this, I put it on out there, and it was already beginning to dry, so you can see that that's got quite bright. That's not really very good to have something that bright out here on the edge. So I put a little bit of Cobalt on, and you can even see if I dip into a little bit of the green, can you see how that neutralized it? So little neutral color somewhere. Oh, great. And I love what happened in there. That was a happy little coincidence. And then again, I'm looking out of my corners. Do I have any corners that are too bright? Not really. I think we're okay. And we'll call that good. Got my little thumbprint on here. But how fun is that?
Mm-hmm. So I'm back in my studio. It's weeks later since I did the beginning of this demo in class. So I think it's about time to wrap it up and show you how to paint these daffodils. I never got to that. So I had masked out the shape of the daffodils with my masking pen. I think I used this one, the PBO drawing gum pen. There, this one here. And so I rubbed that off, and I lost some of my pencil lines, but I'm not going to worry about that right this second. And then I applied a little bit of the masking fluid inside the for the stamens in that little bell or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to try and divide up the white of my daffodils with a little bit of a shadow color that I mixed myself here. I used some cobalt blue, this one, and then you can see I have some mixes on my palette, and I just, grabbed a little bit of the purple I have here from French Ultramarine blue and Quinacrodine red, put a little bit of that in, and I thought it was a little too purpley, so I just did a little tiny dip in my yellow and put that in, and that graded down just enough. And I want it very, very watery because it's going to be my shadow color for the white areas in the daffodils. And I'm kind of looking at these daffodils that I painted a long time ago, so you can see the shadow colors in the white is kind of like a bluish gray. So that's what we're doing first. And I want to have the petals look fairly white, but I do need a little shadow. So I'm going to put a little bit of shadow color on here where two petals overlap. And so the light won't shine through as much in those areas. So there is one little area. So another little area down here. I'll paint that in. And you can see it's very faint. One more. Here, they're overlapping here. So the thing about painting white is that you can't just leave it white because then, it's completely flat like these petals are right now. On the other hand, you don't want to put very much color in because then you lose the sense that it's white. So that's the tricky part. So I'm putting a little bit of the shadow color in, making sure that it's just very, very light. We can always go dark later if we need to, but right now we don't need to. So here we go. And I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. And then here, I'm going to put a little bit on just here. We basically need to separate those petals also a little bit. So, one's going to be lighter than the other. One edge is going to be lighter than the other. So basically, we should also decide where the light's coming from. And I think I have decided that the light is coming from maybe this side, the left side. So that means that this part of this little protruding thingamajig would cast a little bit of a shadow, so I can put that in. So I'm going to put that in there. A little bit more. Of course, then this one will also maybe cast a little bit of a shadow. It's overlapping. There. So there's that. And so I'm kind of winging it here. So you might want to find a photograph if this is just too difficult for you to just kind of make it up. I'm very much into making things up, as you might have noticed if you take any of my classes or if you have watched some of my other YouTube videos. I want things to read so that you can see what it is, but I'm not really into hyperrealism. That I think is best left to the camera, but that's just my personal opinion. And I certainly admire those watercolorists and other artists that can make things look very, very realistic. So let's see, there'll also be a little bit of a shadow here. They're overlapping. So basically we just need a little bit of color on here so that there's a little distinction from one petal to another. Yeah. And let's see, over here, I think I want to say that this petal is overlapping this petal. I can barely see my pencil lines, so I'm talking about winging it. I'm winging it, folks. There. But I'm not so worried about it. If it doesn't turn out, I won't upload this video. How about that? So far so good. I think there will probably also be a little bit over here. I'm going to say that petal, this petal is overlapping that petal. And I do that by putting a tiny little bit of that shadow color right on the edge there and in the corner here, and then a little bit behind that little head. All right. And then here, there'll also be a little bit of that where you can see that they're overlapping. Of course, the light won't be able to shine through. These petals, they are translucent. And so where it's just one single white petal, the light's coming from here, it's just going to kind of shine through the petals. And so let's see here. So on this side here, am I still staying in the picture? Yeah, I am. I try to zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing, because I'm painting on just a little 4x6. These are not really ideal, I know, for doing YouTube videos, but that's what I'm doing. And I kind of really have, it's been haunting me a little bit that I needed to finish this one. Of course, the class I taught, and that was back in January, they never saw the completion of this one. So it's about time, wouldn't you say? So I'm going to put a little shadow on this petal down here because it's away from the light. And then here, one petal here is overlapping another petal. See here? See how I'm putting a little bit of that shadow color in here and creating the tip of that petal there so that you can see it. And then I got to lose the edge. This is a lot of losing edges also, except for those places where the petals are overlapping each other. There, because those are, it's almost like, it's not cast shadows, but it's almost like it was, because you'll kind of see the shadow part of where that petal, where the petals overlapped. Here, there. So, what else can we do? And then there's going to be some little patterns. There's going to be some little striations and stuff in the petals. You know, little undulations, so to speak. And so I'm just going to put in very, very little, just a little bit, just a little bit. And I barely have any of this color left, so it'll also keep me from overdoing it. Actually, here I could I could kind of beef this up a little bit right there. This shadow area could be beefed up a little bit. Let's do it there. And then some other little striations and just little undulations in the petals. And we can always go in and do more of this later. Just want to get a little bit in so that they don't look so flat. There. Underneath here would be, and here. Just, and this whole thing would be a little bit darker. And then we can do a little like this. See, it helps if you talk to yourself when you do these things. It's a good thing that I'm pretending to talk to you. So there. And just a little bit on this one too, maybe. It's barely there. But there you have it. So that's that. Now we've got to let that dry for a moment, and then we'll work on the yellow centers, yellow-orange centers. And that's what's going to give them much more shape. All right, so now that little bit of shadow I put on the white areas has dried, and now it's time to try and get the yellow in. And so I'm going to start with this one, where I can see a little bit of the trumpet, side of the trumpet. I guess that's what it's called. So I'm going to use some of my quinacridone. No, it's not quinacridone. It's transparent yellow. You could use transparent yellow like I'm doing, or you could use quinacridone gold. That should work too. I'm going to start with my transparent yellow. It's very bright and light. And so I'm putting that on there, and I put it on, wet on dry. I didn't wet my paper first because it's such a tiny area. I don't think that's necessary. So there's that. That's a good start. And then I can put some yellow on this other one. I'm just going to put yellow on the whole thing because that's the lightest part of it. So again, I'm choosing to do it wet on dry, meaning that I have quite a bit of water and pigment on my brush, but my paper is dry. So here we are. This is what I've done so far, so there's nothing super exciting there. I am going to take a little bit of my quinacridone red. No, I think this one is actually, I think it's a little dirtier than I like. So I might just build myself a fresh batch, and then I might as well make it orange right away. So I'm going to take some quinacridone red, and I'm going to go over here where I have some of that transparent yellow also, and make myself a little bit of a darker orange here. And here's would be a lighter orange then, a little bit lighter. That way I have those colors. And while I did that, this yellow part has begun to dry a little bit. And so if I try to dab in, I can dab in a little bit of that orange while it's still damp. Don't want too much. And that'll give me a nice uneven edge. So let's see how that works. Dab it in right at the edge there. Can you see how it then by itself kind of flows out a little bit? So that was I think that was a pretty nifty little thing to do, so that the watercolor flows out and I don't have to work on this uneven edge. And I'm just dabbing in a little bit more to kind of give it a little bit more variety. There's that. Okay, so already Isn't it beginning to look a little bit more like an daffodil, or what are they called? Narcissus. This type here in Denmark, where I'm from, we actually call Whitsun lilies, and the ones you call daffodils, we call Easter lilies, the ones that have the yellow. So I'm just dabbing out a little bit there because I think it flowed too far. Oh, it will not be a problem. But so that went pretty well. So let's do that other one here. Now that that's dry. So I'm going to do the same thing, just start out with the transparent yellow, quite a light, have lots of water in the yellow. It's not a super strong yellow because, it's going to be the lightest of the colors here. And just paint that whole inside of that trumpet in. And might already go in and put a little bit, and I can do that over here too probably. That it's going to have a dark center. Which I'll have to go back and define even more. But I can start it. Oh, see, now I'm doing it down here where you can't see anything. Let me fix that. Sorry about that. So what I did, let me take it up. I dabbed in a little bit of the orange in the middle, and it's kind of flowing out. And while I'm waiting for it to dry a little bit more there, I think I might take a little bit of this orange right down here where the trumpet is meeting the white petals, the outside ring, and I'm gonna lose the edge just to give it a little bit of a shape there. And now I just have a clean damp brush, and before this orange dries, I'm gonna go in and kind of tickle it a little bit so that I get a little bit of that soft edge in some areas. There. Oh, it's not too shabby. All right. I think this one has probably dried enough. Let me see. Yeah. So I can put that really, really dark center in. So that will be, I have some blue here, I have some orange here, blue and orange, and that blue is, I think it's French ultramarine blue. Mainly. Blue and orange are complementary colors. So when I mix them, they're going to neutralize. And so I'm getting a really nice dark color here. Dab, dab. And then I'm going to go in and put in that center in the daffodil slash a little bit darker up here. What do you call them? You call them narcissus, I think you call them. And I'm also going to soften the edges here a little bit at the bottom. I can always darken it a little bit more. Feel like I can even darken it a little bit more. The darker you make it, the more contrast and the more drama you have created. A little bit darker here. I'm just fiddling with it. Not necessarily advisable. There we go. So this is as far as we got. Put that dark inside here. And now you can see that that yellow area, it's looking too flat because that's really kind of wrinkly and stuff like that. So I think probably I should take a little bit of a smaller brush. Let's see how this one will be. This is a number, I think this is my number 4. Yeah, let's see if it'll come to a fine tip. That's really what's more necessary than anything. I guess it's good enough. All right, so now that things have dried, I think it's time to try and put in a little bit of shape into here. So I'm just going to put in a few little lines with that orange, and then I'm going to right away kind of smoosh them out a little bit. You see that? Maybe I'll go with the other orange that's a little bit lighter. And then here, I'll go down like this maybe. And I'm just trying to put some of all those little wrinkles in that they have, these trumpets of the daffodils. And I'm going to put a little bit more of that orange in there on this side. And then smudge it out. There. And need to do some of that also on the other one. So just do a little bit at a time and step back and look at it and see what you think before you go crazy on this. So I'm just tinkering with it. And there we have it. Just make sure we don't lose the edge. There's a lot of losing the edge here. And I think that it would be good if I have a little bit of a white highlight on the edge of the trumpet. And so I'm trying to bring that out by actually darkening the side of the trumpet behind it. And then I'm lifting out here a little bit because I'm thinking the light would hit it there. Darken it a little bit more underneath. There. There you go. Can you see that? It's really hard to darken reds or oranges without them looking brown all of a sudden. So that's exactly why I have permanent magenta on my palette. That's my go-to color for darkening reds and oranges. So let me see. I'm gonna get a little bit of that and see. Can you see how I'm getting a rich, dark, reddish color? Can make it a little bit more orange by putting more of the orange in there. But that way it doesn't look like it's brown, and that would make my flower look like it's beginning to wilt. I really don't want that. So now I'm going to put a little bit of that in some places. Just a little bit here and there. And again, I have a very light touch. And it's one of those situations where I always like to say it's good if you've had too much coffee, so you will kind of shaky hand it, because that's exactly what you want, that kind of shaky line that's, hit and miss. That's what's going to make it look really good. And you can also put a little bit of that down a couple of these. Don't overdo it. Rinse it out and just kind of smudge it a little bit. I think I might get a little bit more like right here, because where the stamen is going to come out. Be nice to have a little bit darker behind them so they show up. Okay, I like that, so I'm going to do it on the other one too. Here and there, there and here. Put a little bit. There's that. Rinse it out. Smudge it a little bit. There's that little thing. Okay. I think I might go a little bit darker. A couple places here and here. Watercolor dries quite a bit lighter than what it looks like right when you put it on. A little bit on the back side there. Smudge the edge, loose the edge, so that it shows up like a white, not white, but you know, a light. I want to say that this is in front and then this one's underneath. So actually, I think I need to be less wimpy and just get it done. There. And then I want to loose the edge here, so that's just a gradual. There. Okay. So we're going to let that dry, and then in the meantime, we are going to put some stems on first of all. So here's one stem that goes up to that, and then there'll be a bunch of leaves that are poking up. So I'm just going to pencil them in so I know where they are. And you probably can't see, but that's okay. You will soon enough you'll be able to see what it is I'm doing here. There we go. So let me just, can you see? And how I'm going to bring those out is I am going to grab this French Ultramarine blue I have over here, and I have my little bit of watered down transparent yellow, so I'm creating a green. Okay, it's very watery, but that's fine for now. And so this is going to be negative painting. That means I'm just going to paint the areas in between those leaves that I just drew in. And I'm going to paint it in a fairly, just a light wash, just so we can see where they are. And then later on, we can draw in some more leaves. Just go all the way up here. Here. All the leaves like this, and then I can draw in more leaves, and then I can put it in those little negative areas. I can put an even darker color of this mixed green on, or even if I put the same on, it would be darker because, you know, it's another layer and we're painting in a transparent manner. So every time you put another layer of color on, it's going to darken a little bit because you're putting more and more layers on. It's like stained glass. If you keep putting, you know, colored stained glass over each other, sooner or later it's not going to be see-through anymore. So I don't know, can you see? And now you can begin to see them. So that's a very fun way of creating depth and layers in your paintings. Negative painting. I always like to say negative painting with a positive attitude. A little bit of that darker in down here. There's that. And then there's a little space here. So this is not going to be very interesting for you to watch me do the whole thing. So I'm going to turn off the camera and finish this, and then we'll reconvene when I've done it, okay? All right, so this is my first layer, and you can see I still have a couple up here that I haven't dealt with yet. However, I thought it would be really nice if I did that so you could see it. Because up here is a little bit of a different story. Because there I'll have to fade it out. I don't want to have the whole thing green. So, so here is, there's a little one here. There's a little one sticking up there, and then there's a space in between. So I can go to that one, and there's here. And then here. And there's an area here I need to get color on. And I gotta be a little fast when I do this. And then here. Those are the parts that are sticking up, and then here. But I don't have to worry. These little ones where they have the small areas and I have a line on either side, they're called captured negative space. Now these here, they're not captured, so we need to just loose the edge so it kind of disappears out into the background here without any visual lines. So you do that with a damp brush, and you just fade the color out so that it goes back into that purpley color there. You see that? And I'm going to put some more leaves up there that are sticking up, so it'll be fine. And now I have to wait for everything to dry here, and then I can put in the next one. And in the meantime, I think I need to make a little bit more of my shadow color, which was the cobalt blue, and I put a little bit of the purple in to kind of go it down, and just a hint of the orange. That way it's kind of a nice gray. See there? Okay, so water down a little bit more because my shadow color, you know, I never want it too dark. And now I'm thinking I can go in and just give these little petals, the white petals, a little bit more dimension. And what I'm doing is I went in and put a little bit more shadow underneath where I think it might cast a little shadow, the trumpet on the petal. Don't want to do it like a really hard cast shadow. And then there would be a little bit more in here, I think. This. A little darker in there. And then I'm just going to loose the edge. I'm just trying to tell you now which leaf or which petal is on top and which is below. And I'm just going to put a little bit of shadow color in there. And so that went over. This one goes over, so then I'm going to go and put a little bit more shadow color under here, just to tell you that this little petal here is actually below. Make sure I loose the edge right away. And I can actually put it in and be a little darker right here would be good. Put it a little darker. And then just a few little those lines. There. And this petal up here, this one actually, let's deal with that one. This one here is the one I wanted to deal with. That's definitely going to be quite a bit darker. Of course, that other petal is lying on top of it. So I'll tell that story. Here can also be a little bit darker because it's below. There's that. Can you see how they're beginning to get more shape now and being separated? So there'll be a fair amount of that going on. Let's see here. This one definitely also needs to be darker there. And again, it's very important you lose the edge, otherwise it's not going to look very good. And then here on this side here, I just want to do it a little bit of shadow right on that side, because it's kind of turned away from the light a little bit. There. Okie dokie. And then here I didn't really tell what's what, so give myself a little bit more of that shadow color. A little bit of the purple in. And then just a dab of the orange grade down there. So let's see. This one I want to say is below. So if it's below, I gotta make it darker. So you can see I'm kicking up the shadow color quite a bit now, because now I kind of am at that stage. I can judge it better because I have basically the orange centers in there and the darkness. That, you know, if you start trying to do the darks before you have everything painted in somewhat at least of the color that you're going to it's going to be, it's very easy to misjudge how dark or how light something is. So the real darks, they come now, not before. And I'm going to get kind of, it's nice if you can get some little striations going. That kind of says that there are those little folds that's in the petals. That's kind of nice if you can get some of those in, just so everything doesn't look so flat. There. Gives them a little bit more character. There. That worked out well. And then this one, remember we already gave it a little bit of a shadow color because it's underneath the tip of that other petal, but now I can see that it needs quite a bit more. And again, loose the edge. There. And give it a little striation. There. And same here, this looks awfully flat. There we go. I can do the same here. And there we have it. A few more. And make sure you don't have too many like lines going that are unbroken, because that doesn't look very good. There. Okay, I like it quite a bit better now. This one is still looking kind of flattish. And actually needs to be a little bit darker right in here. And there. All right, I think They're a lot better now. So now that everything dried back there, let's put some more of these little leaves in. So that's going to create a bunch of that one of new shapes. There. Okay. So we'll start the easy place that's down here. There's those little captured negative spaces that we have. You can probably not see my pencil lines, I can. Barely. And so just going to do a couple so you can start seeing them. These new leaves that I have created. And there's. So these negative spaces, they're going to be smaller and smaller and smaller. Maybe I have another one going here. So I'm just going to do a few more. I have to kind of concentrate when I do this because as it gets darker, it's really hard to see where your lines are. So just keep creating more overlapping shapes. That's really what I'm doing. And then there's a little darkness here. So I don't know if you can begin to see how it's creating depth. And dimension. There's that. And get a couple of ones going over here on the other side. There. So you can see these new leaves that I created, they're going to be darker than the first ones because, you know, they already have an extra layer of paint on. And that's exactly how it is. They would be, you know, so there's not as big a difference between them and this background color that I'm painting on. Because, you know, they're further back and so they don't show up as much. So here. Some painters, that's the method they use pretty much for their whole painting. Negative painting, and I have done some paintings in my classes with that as a method. But most of the time I like to use it, you know, some positive painting and then some negative painting to bring out some extra depth in my paintings. So I have a few more I need to do here. And I'm just going to let you suffer through it, so to speak, so you can see it appear. So you've got to be careful. Paint around all those little shapes that you have. And so if there's one there, I should have one there. Means that there would be just a little dark spot right in here. That's nice. And then it goes up like that. And before I get too far, I'm gonna rinse out my brush and lose that edge. Might even go in, actually, put a little bit more blue in. Some great blue. Of course, now I actually need to lose the edge with the local color, and that means the color that's already there. So you can see here it was more purple, and luckily I have a little bit of that purple right here. Can you see how that becomes a better way of losing the edge instead of trying to make it green? Because I don't want my my top to be green. I want it to be purple like I already had it. So in here we have one other little tip, and then we have here, it's a captured negative space, so that makes it nice and easy. And here, and there's a little tiny bit there, I think. And then we have here, all those little tips. We already did this one. We'll do it again. And then we have to go to the purple up here. Grab some purple. That's just a French Ultramarine blue. And the Quinacrodine red. And then make sure that we don't have any weird little areas. Do a little bit darker here, a little bit there. I think I want to darken that particular little area here, right there, there, and here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And of course, you know, you can keep going as many layers as you like. I'm going to leave it at that. I just kind of want to say there's a bunch of leaves, and there's probably more of those daffodils behind there. Now it's time to rub off the masking fluid for the stamens, and let's see how well I did that. Yeah, those are okay. See, there they are. Oops, I put my finger down in wet paint. That was not ideal. See, I got a little fingerprint right there. See if we can get rid of it. I think we can. Good enough. All right. So obviously those stamens, they don't look good that way. So we have to go in, and I think we need to put a little bit of a yellow on them, actually. I'm going to grab a little bit of yellow. There. Just so they don't look so stark. If I have a little bit of the white showing through, that's fine. And then I'm going to go in with my dark color and just give them a little bit of a shadow underneath. So remember where the light is on this side, so the shadow will be on the opposite side. And darken in here just a little bit more. And the same here. There. And once that's dry, I might take my white gel pen. So here they are. I'm just going to go in with my white gel pen. It's the Signo, Uniball Signo white pen. And that's my favorite for this kind of stuff. And I'm just going to give it a couple of little white sparkles here. It's just to say that some of these little guys are catching the light. And I also sometimes will use it if I have lines I need to clean up. I really think I need to clean up this line. It's too outlined. All right. I think I'm good. Actually, I could use it here if I feel if you feel you lost a little bit of your sparkle on that edge, you can use it there. But, you know, it's one of those, once you get started, you might go crazy with it. So I better put the top on mine so I don't fall for the temptation of putting too much on. I think this is a cute little painting of daffodils. I'm not going to do any more to it. I think this is good. It's a nice interpretation, I think, of these daffodils or narcissus, whatever you call them, where you are. So with that, happy painting, have fun, and I will see you soon. I'm going to make a little YouTube video on my new, brand spanking new watercolor pencils that I got. I didn't get them, I bought them. I just bought a 12 set of the Museum Aquarelle watercolor pencils by Caran d'Ache, which is a really good quality. I only have had just, you know, cheap watercolor pencils in the past. I made a swatch sheet of the pencils I got, and I'm going to do a product review on them in a YouTube video. So you can look forward to that if you are a watercolorist that would like to know a little bit more about how to use watercolor pencils. So I'll practice and then I'll share what I learned. See you soon. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.